Today, we're going to talk about the abdomen and what that can teach us about the people we're talking to. First thing I actually want to talk about today is a lot of really generalized information out there that I think needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed. So an example of this overgeneralization that I want to talk about are arm crosses, right? So the generalization that I see all the time online is that anybody that crosses their arms is uncomfortable. A lot of people say that the minute someone crosses their arms, they're uncomfortable. I mean, it can be true. But it's so much of a generalization to say that crossing arms equals uncomfortableness to put that into play and put that into actual practice. I think it's just way too broad of a generalization. So what I wanted to talk about today is your abdomen. What your abdomen and your shoulders really can indicate on nonverbal communication. So let's talk about your shoulders first, right? So this is something that can indicate a lot of different things. If you're speaking to someone and they're squared up with you, it's a good sign. It means they're interested, they're engaged with you, they're actually paying attention to what's happening. If you're speaking to someone and they start shifting away from you, that's something to pay attention to, because that could mean a couple different things. It could mean that they're not interested. It could mean they have somewhere else to go. It could mean they're uncomfortable with the situation. I mean, it could mean one of many things. So it could be something worth talking about. Or something that you just want to be aware of. Watching somebody's shoulders could just very well indicate they have to go somewhere. They might be late for a meeting. This is something that you can actually take care. You can look at today, right? So when you walk into a room, or alternately, if you're standing in a room and you're with a group of people, watch how people react or how people's shoulders react when someone else walks in the room or when you walk in the room. So let's say you walk in the room and someone else that you're going up to meet with or someone you're going to talk to in that room squares up with you, right, and actually exposes their shoulders and exposes their abdomen to you. That indicates comfort, that indicates acceptance. If you walk in the room and someone turns away, or if you're standing with a person, so let's say you're standing with a partner and someone walks in the room and that person that you're talking to starts shifting their shoulders away from the person that just came in the room, that can show discomfort towards that new person, right? So your shoulders are actually very telling. Another thing that this could work with, let's say you're negotiating a contract. If I put out a number, depending on how that person's shoulders react, can tell me a lot. So if a person is confident in their information, if they say no, that will not work, and they're squared up like I am to the camera here, that's actually that's bad for me, right? Because that means that they're confident, they are confident in their number, and they're willing to stick to it, right? So they're confident, they're showing their chest and they're showing their shoulders squared up, and they're being confident about the answer. If I talk to that person, they go, right, they kind of put their head to the side, they show a shoulder, but it's just one, and then they say no, I go no, then that could be a bigger indication of uncertainty. So that's actually positive for me, because then that person might be thinking about that number. They could be thinking about whether or not it's going to work for the situation or work for the rate. So that's one of the other ways that this can work. And a third example I'll use with shoulders is actually with the loved one. So if you're starting to date, or if you are already in a relationship, if you walk in a room with your loved one or with someone that you're looking to date, or you're starting to date, and they turn away from you and they kind of shoulder, they blade, that actually could be something that you may want to talk about. If they square up with you and they're showing square with you, that's a positive, right? Obviously they're comfortable with you, they're showing that towards you. So why this all is important, and what we have to remember and why this is important, is that your shoulders from your neck down, right, to your navel or to your waist, this whole bit of your body, it encompasses all of your vital organs, right? So your heart's here, your liver, your lungs, everything that is vital to your survival, minus your brain, is in this space. So your brain has been taught over evolution and over thousands of years that when something is dangerous, right? So through evolution, your brain was taught to guard this part of your body, right? So you got to guard your vital organs. So that can be seen through blading or blocking with your shoulder, right? So that's where your shoulders come into play. And that can be seen through other forms of reaction with your abdomen, right? So a lot of it has to do with turning away. If someone's uncomfortable, they will move away and they'll guard their internal organs. So now it's not as prevalent, obviously, as turning and running away, like a fight and flight type of reaction that we would have experienced thousands of years ago. But in a corporate world, or the world that we live in today, you can still see it, right? You can still see that indicator. You can still see the reaction. So I want you guys to watch for it. I want you to look at what happens when you walk in a room. I want you to look at what happens to the people around you and pay attention to yourself when someone else walks in a room, and see what happens. So going back to what I was originally talking about, oversimplification that's being added on. So something like a arms cross gesture, although that what's online and kind of the stuff that people are talking about is far oversimplified, crossing your arms still actually can be representative of a negative or of a discomfort. So that goes into blocking, right? So instead of blocking with your shoulder and turning away, now people are blocking this way, right? They're still guarding their midsection. Some people might just be comfortable sitting like this, right? Other people might be more comfortable with their arms out in front of them, and then when something uncomfortable happens, they cross their arms. So you can see this with your arms being crossed. You can see this with a person that folds their leg in front of them or puts their leg over top of their knee. That's actually it's building distance between them, their vital organs, and whatever situation is making them uncomfortable. You can also see it with things like a piece of paper. So when someone has a piece of paper, right, or they're sitting in front of a meeting or sitting in front of something that they're not comfortable with, this is now a barrier, right? So this is something to guard yourself with. I talked about this yesterday or the day before when I was sitting in front of the computer screen. I was slouching down and I was trying to get out of the way. I was building barriers that I could feel more comfortable behind. And I knew that I was doing it. I was conscious of the fact I was doing it, but it's hard to stop yourself when you're uncomfortable, right? So I was obviously uncomfortable a little bit in front of the camera. But that's something that you can watch for as well. And actually, there's a couple examples here that I want to use that you can look at and see in your your day-to-day life, and it's actually really interesting to see it. So people will put themselves in like a turtle posture, right? So what that means is that if you're sitting in a table, let's say, or you're sitting in a conference room, or let's say you're sitting in front of a loved one at a table and something uncomfortable is happening, or they're not really comfortable with the situation, they'll start doing this, right? They'll start putting their head down into their shoulders and start guarding their neck, and they'll start kind of shrinking up, right? So that's something that you can see in meetings and in loved ones and people around you all the time. Next time you're out at a restaurant, I want you to watch for this, right? So just take a look around and see what people are reacting like in front of the people they're with. And I'm sure you'll be able to find a couple examples of people that are turtling up, they're kind of getting all small, and they're shrinking away from a situation. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode today, but what I wanted to cover were just the overgeneralizations, and then start to talk about your shoulders and what blocking is and how you're protecting your your vital organs, and why that's an important part to look at for nonverbals, because it tells you a lot. People will react to things that are uncomfortable to them by turning away and by guarding their vitals. So with all of that said, to summarize for today, indicators of comfort when it comes to your shoulders and your chest are things like moving forward, showing interest in something, or when both shoulders go up at the same time, right? Everything goes up and elongates and everything extends, right? So that shows comfort. On the other hand, when you're uncomfortable, you're going to get smaller, right? So you're going to get smaller, you're going to block your vitals, and you're going to turn your vitals away from whatever situation's making you uncomfortable. And that's something that I really want you guys to look at, and I want you guys to see if you can see it in real world. And it's really easy to see once you start to spot it. I want you guys to take that all away. I want to hear what you guys find out, and I want to be able to have some conversations with you guys on what you see and how that's impacting you, and if this is starting to become an effective way of looking at body language for you guys. So I'll be doing another video tomorrow. Hopefully, at least it's Sunday, so I'm not really 100%. I might have some stuff to do. But thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to the comments, and I look forward to you joining me tomorrow.